I still remember the moment my sister looked me straight in the eyes and whispered, "I need you to become me, for just 1 week." At first I laughed because it sounded impossible. Then she placed a small pink suitcase on my bed, locked my bedroom door, and told me something that changed everything. If you say no, years of my life could fall apart. If you say yes, nobody can ever know. I had no idea that by the end of those 7 days I would question everything I thought I knew about confidence, identity, fear, and the version of myself I had hidden from the world. My name is Ethan, and until that evening I had never worn a dress, never touched makeup, and never imagined that I would spend an entire week pretending to be my own sister's secret twin. I believed I knew exactly who I was. Looking back now, I realize I only knew the version of myself that everyone else expected to see. Emily and I had always looked surprisingly alike. Even as children, relatives joked that if I had longer hair, we could fool anyone. We laughed at those comments and forgot about them. Emily never did. She sat beside me, nervously twisting the zipper of the pink suitcase. Her eyes were red from crying. "I've accepted a once-in-a-lifetime internship," she said softly. "The company arranged accommodation for female participants only because it's connected to a women's leadership project. They already know me there, but there's another problem." "What problem?" "My future in-laws are visiting our hometown this week. My fiancé told them I'd be staying with my parents before the wedding. If I disappear now, they'll start asking questions about the internship and everything we've kept private." I frowned. "So, what does that have to do with me?" She took a deep breath. "I told everyone I have a twin sister who lives overseas and is finally visiting." I stared at her. "You what?" "They've never met my extended family. They've only seen old edited photos online." I thought it would never matter. "You created an imaginary twin?" She nodded, embarrassed. "I know it sounds ridiculous." "It is ridiculous. I just need someone to be her for 1 week." I stood up immediately. "No." She didn't argue. Instead, she quietly opened the suitcase. Inside were carefully folded pastel dresses, elegant blouses, skirts, comfortable flats, a light cardigan, skincare products, simple jewelry, and a notebook with handwritten instructions. Everything was perfectly organized. "You planned this." I hoped I'd never need it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "I can't do this." "I know. I've never even." "I know. I'd look ridiculous." She smiled sadly. "I don't think you would." For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, she asked one question. "Can you at least let me show you what I mean before you decide?" Curiosity is a strange thing. It often opens doors that logic keeps locked. Against my better judgment, I nodded. Emily led me to her room. Every surface reflected soft, warm light. Dresses hung neatly inside an open wardrobe. Perfume floated gently through the air. Everything felt completely different from my own room. She placed a simple cream sweater on the bed beside a knee-length soft pink skirt. "No pressure," she said. "Just see." I hesitated. Every instinct told me to leave. But another feeling, one I couldn't explain, wanted to understand why this mattered so much to her. I picked up the sweater. The fabric surprised me. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was simply soft. Softer than anything in my closet. Emily noticed my expression and smiled. People always imagine women's clothes are uncomfortable. Most of the time, they're just made differently. I nodded without realizing it. She handed me the skirt. "I'll wait outside." When the door closed, silence filled the room. I stared at myself in the mirror for what felt like forever. "This is insane," I whispered. My hands were shaking. Several times I reached for the doorknob to leave. Instead, I slowly changed into the outfit. The skirt settled lightly around my knees. The sweater fit better than I expected. Nothing magical happened. The room didn't change. I didn't suddenly become someone else. But I noticed something unexpected. I wasn't laughing anymore. I stepped closer to the mirror. The person looking back at me was unfamiliar, not because I looked perfect, but because I had never allowed myself to imagine a different presentation. It felt awkward, vulnerable, and strangely fascinating at the same time. A quiet knock interrupted my thoughts. "Can I come in?" Emily asked. I opened the door. She froze for a second. Then she smiled, not with amusement, but with relief. I knew it, she whispered. You really could pass as my twin. I looked away, my face burning with embarrassment. This is only because the lighting is bad. She laughed. No, it's because people see confidence before they notice details. Those words stayed with me. Confidence before details. I didn't know it yet, but that simple sentence would become the key to surviving the most unbelievable week of my life, and by tomorrow morning, I would walk out the front door as someone the entire neighborhood believed had existed all along. The next morning I woke up hoping the entire conversation had been a strange dream. Then I saw the pink suitcase sitting beside my bed, exactly where Emily had left it. Reality settled in all at once. This wasn't a joke anymore. In less than 2 hours, my sister's future in-laws would arrive for breakfast, expecting to meet the mysterious twin they had only heard about for years. Emily knocked softly before entering. Good morning, are you still with me? I rubbed my face and sighed. I honestly don't know. She smiled nervously. You still have time to back out. I looked at the suitcase, then at the stress in her eyes. No. If we've come this far, we finish it. Her shoulders relaxed immediately. Thank you. For the next hour, my bedroom became an unexpected classroom. Instead of rushing me into a transformation, Emily explained every step patiently. She talked about choosing comfortable clothing instead of uncomfortable fashion, matching colors naturally, standing with relaxed shoulders, and walking without looking stiff. What surprised me most was that almost none of it felt like acting. It was about paying attention to small details that most people never notice. Don't try to behave like someone else, she said while brushing my shoulder-length wig into place. Just stop trying so hard to behave like everyone expects. That sentence confused me. What does that even mean? She smiled. When people pretend, they overdo everything. The safest way is simply being calm. She handed me a simple lavender blouse, fitted white jeans, and a light cardigan. Compared to what I imagined, the outfit was surprisingly casual. No dramatic makeup. No glamorous dress. Just something an ordinary young woman might wear while visiting family. After a little concealer, light mascara, and a natural lip color, she stepped back to examine me. Turn around. I did. Walk toward me. My first few steps looked robotic. She laughed. Relax. You're walking like you're carrying a refrigerator. I couldn't help laughing too. After several attempts, I stopped thinking about every movement. Ironically, the less I tried, the more natural everything became. Emily nodded proudly. There. What? Now you're moving like yourself. Myself. Exactly. The doorbell rang. Both of us froze. They're here, she whispered. Suddenly my heartbeat became louder than every sound in the house. Emily squeezed my hand. You've got this. No, I really don't. You do. As we walked downstairs, I felt every step growing heavier. My palms were sweating. I kept imagining someone shouting, "That's not her." Instead, the front door opened. Emily's future mother-in-law smiled brightly. So this must be Emma? Emma. The imaginary twin finally had a name. Emily had forgotten to tell me that part. Before I could panic, she casually introduced me. Mom, Dad, this is my twin sister Emma. She finally made it home. The older woman walked over and hugged me warmly before I even had time to react. It's wonderful to finally meet you. I forced a nervous smile. It's really nice to meet you too. Nobody questioned anything. Nobody stared suspiciously. Nobody looked twice. Within minutes, everyone was chatting naturally around the breakfast table. They asked about traveling, hobbies, favorite books, and childhood memories. Luckily, Emily had prepared me the night before with a notebook filled with Emma's fictional life story. Every answer connected perfectly with the next. Still, I stayed careful. Whenever I didn't know something, I smiled instead of talking too much. Emily noticed and subtly nodded. Later, while helping clear the dishes, she whispered just loud enough for me to hear. You're doing better than I imagined. I still feel like everyone knows. They don't. How can you tell? because people usually believe what they expect to see. That idea stayed with me all afternoon. People notice confidence. People trust familiar stories. People rarely question what fits their expectations. By evening, Emily's future in-laws invited us to dinner at a nearby restaurant. I nearly dropped the glass I was holding. In public. Emily nodded apologetically. I know. I thought we'd stay home. So did I. Dinner meant strangers, waiters, customers, bright lights. No hiding. For nearly an hour, I debated pretending to feel sick, but Emily gently reminded me that disappearing suddenly would create far more suspicion. So I agreed. The restaurant overlooked a quiet lake, with warm lights reflecting across the water. Couples laughed softly while families enjoyed dinner together. To everyone else, it was an ordinary evening. To me, it felt like stepping onto a stage with thousands of people watching. The hostess smiled. Table for 6. Emily's future father-in-law answered before I could speak. Yes, and our newest family member finally joined us. The hostess looked directly at me. We've heard so much about you. I smiled politely. Hopefully, only the good stories. Everyone laughed. The tension eased instantly. As the evening continued, something unexpected happened. I stopped worrying about myself. Instead, I focused on the conversations around me. When I listened instead of overthinking, my nervousness faded naturally. Then, just as I began relaxing, a familiar voice echoed across the restaurant. Ethan? Every muscle in my body froze. I slowly turned toward the entrance. Standing only a few feet away was Jason, my coworker from the office. His eyes locked onto mine with unmistakable confusion. He frowned slightly, tilted his head, and took one slow step closer. For one terrifying second, I was certain the entire secret was about to collapse in front of everyone. Jason kept walking toward our table, and every instinct told me to get up and run. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone around me could hear it. Emily noticed my expression immediately but couldn't ask what was wrong without drawing attention. I lowered my eyes and silently prayed that Jason had mistaken me for someone else. He stopped beside the table. I'm so sorry, he said with an awkward smile. For a second, I thought you looked exactly like someone from my office. I forced myself to breathe normally. I guess everyone has a look-alike somewhere. He laughed. I suppose so. Then he looked at Emily. You two actually resemble each other quite a bit. Emily smiled naturally. We're twins. That explains everything. He apologized again for interrupting our dinner before returning to his own table. Only after he walked away did I realize I had been gripping the edge of my chair so tightly that my fingers hurt. Emily leaned toward me. You okay? Barely. What happened? That's my coworker. Her eyes widened for a split second before she calmly picked up her glass. He didn't recognize you. I thought he would. He expected to see Ethan. He wasn't looking for Emma. The rest of the dinner passed without another close call, but my confidence had been shaken. As soon as we got home, I went straight to my room and sat quietly in front of the mirror. The wig rested perfectly. The light makeup looked natural. The clothes were comfortable. Yet what surprised me wasn't the reflection. It was the fact that I had spent almost 3 hours in public without constantly thinking about what I was wearing. I had been thinking about conversations instead, about laughing, about listening, about being present. Emily knocked gently before entering. I brought tea. She handed me a warm mug and sat beside me. You know, she said softly, today you learned something most people never do. What's that? We're usually our own harshest critic. I looked at the mirror again. I still don't recognize that person. She smiled. You don't have to. What do you mean? Clothes can change. Hairstyles can change. Presentation can change. But kindness, confidence, and honesty matter far more than appearances. I nodded slowly. For the first time since this strange week had begun, I realized this experience wasn't really about pretending to be someone else. It was teaching me how much energy I had spent worrying about being judged. The following morning, Emily handed me a small notebook. I want you to do something today. What? Write down every moment you assume someone is judging you. That's oddly specific. Just trust me. I slipped the notebook into my handbag before we left the house. Our first stop was a neighborhood cafe where Emily planned to meet an old university friend. I expected another stressful conversation, but instead the cafe buzzed with ordinary life. Students worked on laptops, an elderly couple shared breakfast, and soft music played in the background. Nobody stared. Nobody whispered. Nobody seemed interested in me at all. While Emily chatted with her friend, I quietly observed the room. One woman spilled coffee and laughed at herself. Another kept checking her phone every few minutes. A young man struggled to balance 3 cups while opening the door. Everyone seemed far more focused on their own lives than on anyone else's. Without thinking, I opened the notebook. First entry. Thought everyone would stare when I walked in. Reality. No one looked for more than a second. An hour later, we visited a bookstore. Second entry. Worried the cashier would notice something unusual. Reality. She only asked whether I wanted a receipt. By lunchtime, the notebook was filling with the same pattern. Fear. Reality. Fear. Reality. Each page quietly proved that my imagination had been creating problems that never actually happened. As we walked through a small outdoor market, Emily suddenly stopped at a clothing boutique. I need to exchange something. I'll wait outside. She smiled mischievously. No, come with me. The boutique was bright, elegant, and surprisingly busy. A sales associate greeted us warmly. Welcome. Let me know if you'd like to try anything. Emily disappeared toward the fitting rooms with the items she needed to exchange. That left me standing alone among rows of dresses and blouses. A few moments later, another associate approached carrying a soft blue cardigan. She smiled. This color would look lovely on you. I blinked in surprise. Oh, I wasn't shopping. No pressure, she replied kindly. It just caught my eye. For reasons I couldn't explain, I accepted it. The fabric was incredibly soft. I looked in the nearby mirror. Instead of searching for flaws, I noticed how relaxed I looked. Not because of the cardigan. Because I wasn't trying to convince anyone of anything anymore. Emily returned and grinned. I knew you'd like that color. Before I could answer, the boutique door opened. A familiar voice echoed across the store. Emma? Neither Emily nor I recognized the woman approaching us. She smiled as though she had known Emma for years. My stomach dropped. Whoever she was, she clearly believed the fictional twin standing before her was someone she had already met, and she was walking straight toward me with a hug waiting. The woman wrapped me in a warm hug before I could even think of stepping back. It's been forever, she said excitedly. I can't believe you're finally back. I glanced at Emily for help, but she looked just as confused as I was. I'm sorry, I said carefully. It's been a busy few years. She laughed. Tell me about it. You haven't changed at all. That sentence gave me just enough room to continue. I'm surprised you recognized me. Recognized you? She smiled. Emily showed me her childhood photos years ago. Everything suddenly made sense. Emily had once created an online photo album filled with heavily edited family pictures, including a fictional twin. Somehow, one of her college friends had believed every bit of it. The woman introduced herself. I'm Rachel. Emily immediately smiled with relief. Rachel, I didn't realize you were shopping today. The conversation became surprisingly easy after that. Rachel talked almost nonstop about work, travel, and wedding plans, leaving me with little more to do than listen and respond naturally. It reminded me of something Emily had said on the first day. People usually remember how you make them feel more than the exact words you say. When Rachel finally left, both Emily and I let out the same exhausted sigh. That, I whispered, was way too close. Emily nodded. I owe you for this. You owe me for a lifetime. We both laughed harder than we had all week. For the first time since this unusual adventure had begun, it felt less like a mission and more like a memory we would laugh about years later. The following day was supposed to be simple. Emily's future in-laws wanted one last family gathering before leaving town. No restaurants, Emily promised. No shopping. No surprises. Just dinner at home. I smiled. Finally, The afternoon passed peacefully. We helped prepare dinner together, decorated the dining room, and even joked about how convincing Emma's fictional life had become. Then the front door opened. Emily's fiancé walked in carrying a small gift box. Behind him came his younger sister, Lily. She was studying photography in college and never went anywhere without her professional camera. My smile disappeared. "Oh, good," Lily said cheerfully. "Before everyone eats, I want to take family portraits." Emily's eyes met mine across the room. Neither of us had expected this. One photograph could become a permanent record of someone who technically didn't exist. Lily arranged everyone in front of the fireplace. A little closer. We moved. Perfect. She adjusted her camera again. Smile. Flash. Another angle. Another flash. Then another. She showed everyone the preview. "They look amazing." Everyone gathered around the camera. I had no choice but to look too. For a brief moment, I forgot everything. The picture looked completely ordinary. A happy family, smiling faces, warm lighting. Nothing seemed unusual. Nobody would ever guess the nervous person standing beside Emily had spent every morning wondering if the secret would fall apart before sunset. Lily suddenly frowned. My stomach tightened. "What?" She zoomed into one photo. "That's strange." Everyone leaned closer. "What happened?" Emily asked. Lily pointed at the screen. This photo accidentally captured someone standing outside the front window. The room went quiet. A blurry figure could be seen near the garden gate. No one recognized them. Emily's father opened the curtains and looked outside. Nobody was there anymore. "Probably a neighbor," someone suggested. But Lily shook her head. They were looking directly into the house. An uncomfortable silence settled over the room. Emily quietly whispered to me while everyone else continued discussing the photo. "Don't panic." I'm trying not to. Dinner continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Every unexpected sound outside made someone glance toward the window. When the evening finally ended and the guests drove away, I felt relieved. "It's over," I said as we closed the front door. Emily smiled. "You did it. I can't believe we actually survived." She looked at the pink suitcase resting beside the stairs. "Tomorrow morning Emma disappears forever." I expected to feel excited. Instead, I felt strangely emotional. That surprised me more than anything else. I walked upstairs, placed the wig on the dresser, and stared into the mirror. 7 days earlier, I had only seen fear staring back at me. Now I saw someone who had learned patience, empathy, and confidence in ways I never expected. Not because of the clothes, not because of pretending, but because I had stopped letting fear decide every choice I made. Just as I reached for the light switch, my phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. There was only one photo attached. It was the family portrait Lily had taken earlier that evening. Someone had circled me with a red marker. Below the picture were 7 words that made my blood run cold. "I know you're not really Emma." My hands froze. Another message appeared before I could react. "Meet me tomorrow morning. Come alone." I barely slept that night. The anonymous message kept replaying in my mind. Every possibility felt worse than the last. Had someone followed me all week? Had Jason recognized me after all? Was the person outside the window connected to this? By sunrise, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to tell Emily. She had already carried enough stress because of me. If someone truly knew the truth, I wanted to find out who it was before involving anyone else. The message included a location, a small cafe near the city park, and a time. 9 a.m. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing simple jeans, a hoodie, and a baseball cap. For the first time all week, I looked like myself again. Yet I didn't feel like the same person. Every lesson from the past 7 days stayed with me. At exactly 9 o'clock, someone pulled out the chair across from me. It wasn't Jason. It wasn't one of Emily's future relatives. It was an elderly woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She smiled gently. "You came." I stared at her. "Who are you?" She slid her phone across the table. The same photograph appeared on the screen. I sent the message. "Why?" "Because I wanted to know whether you'd come honestly or try to hide."
I frowned.
I don't understand. She looked at the photo again. My granddaughter passed away 3 years ago. I didn't know what to say. She struggled every day because she was terrified of being judged. She spent so much energy pretending to be someone everyone expected that she forgot how to enjoy simply being herself. She looked up at me. When I saw your expression in this picture, I recognized that same fear. I sat in silence. I wasn't trying to expose you, she continued. I wanted to remind you of something. She reached into her purse and handed me a folded note. Fear grows in silence. Those 4 words hit me harder than I expected. She smiled warmly. I don't need to know your story. You already know enough. Before I could ask another question, she stood up. I deleted the photo. She showed me the empty gallery on her phone. No one else will ever receive it. Then she simply walked away. I never even learned her name. I remained in that cafe for almost an hour, thinking about everything that had happened over the past week. For days, I believed the biggest challenge had been changing my appearance. In reality, the hardest part had been facing my own assumptions. I had expected strangers to judge me. Most were too busy living their own lives. I had expected every conversation to expose me. Instead, genuine kindness appeared in the most unexpected places. I had expected confidence to come from looking perfect. Instead, it came from accepting that perfection wasn't necessary. When I finally returned home, Emily was waiting outside with the pink suitcase beside her. You disappeared, she said. I know. Everything okay? I smiled. Everything's finally okay. She searched my face for a moment. You seem different. I think I am. We carried the suitcase upstairs together. One by one, we packed away the dresses, shoes, accessories, and wig. Neither of us rushed. Each item reminded us of a different moment from the week. The nervous first outfit, the restaurant, the bookstore,
The boutique.
the family photographs. Even the close calls had become memories instead of fears. When the suitcase was finally closed, Emily rested her hand on top of it. I don't know how to thank you. You already have.
How?
You trusted me. Her eyes filled with tears. So, this is goodbye to Emma. I smiled softly. I think Emma served her purpose. Emily laughed through her tears. I'll miss my fictional twin. So will I. A few months later, Emily's wedding arrived. This time I attended as Ethan. No disguises. No secrets. No pretending. During the reception, Emily raised her glass for a toast. When I was younger, she said, I believed strength meant never asking for help. I was wrong. Real strength is trusting the people who love you. She looked directly at me. My brother reminded me of that. Everyone applauded. Only Emily and I understood the full meaning behind those words. As the evening ended, we stood together watching the lights sparkle across the garden. You know, she said with a smile, if anyone ever asks whether I have a twin sister, I laughed. What will you tell them? She looked toward the stars. I'll tell them I had someone willing to stand beside me when I needed it most. Years have passed since that unforgettable week. The pink suitcase still sits on the highest shelf in my closet. Not because I need it. Not because I'm hiding anything. But because every time I see it, I remember a lesson I never expected to learn. Sometimes the biggest transformation in life isn't changing how the world sees you. It's changing how you see yourself. And once that happens, fear slowly loses its power, one honest step at a time. That week began with a secret. It ended with confidence. And that was the part of the story no one ever saw coming.